Hey guys, I hope everyone is doing well tonight. In this video, I want to talk to you all about some of my pros and cons for investing in modern Pokemon. I really want to do this as a follow-up video to that live stream I did with Zach as a way to, I think, make my opinions in a more concise, straightforward format for those who are interested in hearing them. So I want to break the video up into three different categories. First, we're going to talk about graded Pokemon. Then we're going to talk about ungraded, buying raw singles, investing in raw singles. And then we're going to talk about investing in sealed product. So for investing in graded cards, at this point, I'm really in a wait and see mode. I want to see how much supply comes back from PSA. There's already been a ton of it, but I want to see how much more. We're right now starting to get into the months of some of the biggest returns. I think over the next 6 months, a very large chunk of the backlog may be back because it seems like PSA is rapidly going through some months right now, from what I can tell. So I'm watching this Pop Reports very closely, and I'm really interested to see how much supply comes back and then the effect it has on all of those sets. So for me, it just doesn't make any sense to be investing in any modern graded cards right now outside of trophy cards or very short printed type promo cards where the majority have likely already been graded or there just aren't that many out there. Okay, so the main reason for that is really because prices are very, very high, in my opinion. It's the most overinflated part of the entire Pokemon market, in my opinion, is certain, I'm not going to go into specific examples, but certain modern PSA 10 cards right now. Okay, and the reason I think that they're very overvalued is one, because it's very easy to get 10s and certainly 9s in modern Pokemon cards. These cards are fresh from packs. They haven't been played with and sitting in binders for 10, 20 years like vintage stuff. And so there's a ton more of it that hasn't been opened yet that will be graded. There's a ton more of it sitting mint in people's collections waiting to be graded. And the premium that people are paying on 10s and 9s, these 5x, 10x, 20x amounts I'm seeing in some cases, really, I don't think will hold up over time. I think it's very unlikely to hold up over time. I think it's coming from a shortage in supply due to the fact that PSA has been so backed up and people really want these things. And they've also seen the card values go up a lot. So I think there's a lot of confidence in it still, or some confidence in it still, that I think, yeah, has really been instilled there because of that lack of supply with PSA being so backed up that will get fixed in the next 6 months to a year or so. Now, having said that, I would be watching it very closely and looking for opportunities as some of these cards potentially dip. That's going to be up to you to decide. For me, I would be looking at alternative arts, rainbow rare, secret rares. I'd be looking at, key Pokemon, obviously, but also some lesser Pokemon, particularly if you can get them, in PSA graded, 9 and 10 for $15, $20, $25, $30. I think there's some good value and some good deals in there when very likely those booster boxes will be selling for a couple $100 in a few years, a lot of them, if they're not already. And you get one of those cards every other booster box, and it's very difficult to get that specific one, and the grading fee is $20 in and of itself, and you're buying the card for $20 or $25. There's great value there if the prices on those come back to that point, or if you can buy those collections in mass. So I'd be looking for those type of value type plays. The high end of that market right now, people paying $500, $600, $700, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 even in some cases for any sort of modern PSA card. And when I say modern, I'm really talking like Sun and Moon forward, particularly just cards, even more so just from the last 2 years, I would say, particularly from when PSA got really backlogged where people weren't able to send in the vast majority of the supply. So a card like Burning Shadows Charizard is a little bit safer, for example, than some of these other fairly high-valued cards that are from this year. Because people were actually, it had a good, pretty high value always, and a lot of that supply was able to be sent out already. Hopefully that makes sense, and it was a very difficult card to pull and grade. So I'd be careful both because, right, just to summarize, the premiums on the 9s and 10s I think are way too much, given how easy it is to get mint versions, and that condition rarity doesn't really matter and shouldn't matter nearly as much as it does in these types of cards. One, and two, because we're going to get a ton of supply back. Okay, so hopefully that's clear, but it's an area that I would watch and potentially pick up deals within the next year, and I will certainly be watching it. And I really like modern cards, and will be happy to pick up some deals here and there if I see them. So next category is buying raw Pokemon cards. This is a category I'd be much more interested in purchasing right now. I think that if you can buy big lots of raw, particularly like rainbow rares and up, and you can get them for like $1, $2, $3, $4 a card, depending on the card. You know, for your chase cards, like 10, 15 for some of them. If you're buying like large collections, and I've seen some of these collections come through, for example, like with Shining Fates or something, a little bit of a set that, you know, continues to be reprinted and seems to be out there a lot, where there's a pretty decent amount of product and a lot of that supply kind of going around. If you can buy those cards at $1, $2, honestly, keeping a stack of them and then waiting for PSA to maybe have a special, hopefully again, where you can send in cards at maybe $15 to $12, or one of these other grading companies becomes more established sometime in the future, you can send those cards in. I think in a few years from now, if you're doing that and you're getting a number of 10s and 9s on a lot of those cards, you can probably sell them like fairly easily between like $30 and $60, I would think, fairly conservatively. It's all speculation. Nothing is a sure thing. At probably the lowish to middle end. I think on the high end they might be even worth quite a bit more, depending on the booster box prices. And if you're sinking $2, $3, $4, $5, $6 in each of those cards, plus the $20 grading fee, you're making that profit can really add up. Now the downside of doing that is it's going to take a long time, and it can be pretty labor intensive in terms of finding all of those deals, getting all of those cards graded, and then selling all of those cards individually to make that money. I think that's a good option generally for people who have a little bit of lower money, and more time to put into the hobby to both search for those deals, or just people who like really love it, obviously, and want to spend all that time doing it. People who are searching for all of those deals, finding those good deals, you know, researching, learning how to grade, feeling comfortable with correctly grading things, sending all of that in, waiting that time, and then when they get it all back, selling all those cards individually and making that return. You could see a very large return on investment in terms of a percentage, right? So you could turn $100, you know, potentially into $400 or $500 doing something like that over the course of a few years. And if you do it in a higher, if you can manage to get 1,000 or so cards like that, you really could make some decent money, particularly if you don't have the money just to plow into some bigger items and let them sit there. Which brings us to the third category, which I think is the category that I would probably be most interested in investing in if I were going to invest, which is just buying and holding sealed product, because it's the easiest. It's fairly liquid and fairly easy to sell once you try to sell it, and you don't have to worry about getting it graded. The downside of sealed product is simply that you have to store it somewhere, and you have to find space for that. And if you're really trying to invest in this in a significant way and make a lot of money, you need a lot of storage space, particularly if you're buying and storing fairly low-end booster boxes, you know, like $100 Battle Styles boxes, for example, etc. So I think that when we think of like the new set of Evolving Skies, a lot of heat on it right now. Squeaks came out with a really good video on it. I agree with basically all the points he said in that video. It's already up to $150, right? It was just at $120 3, 4, 5 days ago, and now it's at $150. There's a lot of booster box breakers opening this stuff up. There's a lot of heat on it. I think it's very realistic to think that sets like that, your some of your top sets are going to be $200+ in 4 to 5 years, maybe 3 to 5 years. I think that that's very realistic. There's obviously like moonshot chances that they repeat what some of these other sets have done and jump up to $600, $700. It is possible that they'll do that, um, but I think it's more likely that where I would set a target, a comfortable target, would be like a $200 to $300 range, and probably look to hold it that 3 to 5 years and sell it somewhere in there. Doing that is certainly risky and speculative, and certainly if you're buying it at $150, it's really not that much profit at that point. Versus if you get it at $120, or if you get it at, if you have distributor connections and you get it at $76, which a lot of our distributor friends are getting it at, or $86 or $96, depending on your relationship with the distributor. That's where where it really starts to make more sense to do it on a mass. I think when you start buying it at 140, 150, the numbers there don't really make that much sense for an investment unless you like really enjoy doing it. And then it's kind of like, it'll probably go up, maybe it'll go up quite a bit, and it's fun, and I really enjoy having these booster boxes around and looking at them. I think that it makes a lot of sense to do that. You have to understand, though, that we don't know how much this product is going to be reprinted. It could be reprinted for 3, 4, 5 years. If that happens, and if Pokemon dies down in popularity in a few years, which is definitely possible, or doesn't die, but just goes back to what it was like a few years ago. Booster boxes, having a booster box break $100 was a big deal a few years ago, let alone selling for $150 a week after release. Okay, so I think that I don't know what to expect. I don't know what this new Pokemon world looks like for Modern. I don't think anyone does. I think my frustration or irritation comes from people in the videos, right, telling you that they've been doing it forever and making tons of money and it's a sure thing, when nobody made money really on any of that, and most people lost money on pretty much all investing in Modern sealed Pokemon product, unless they were getting at distributor prices, until like the last year and a half, because Pokemon exploded and boomed. So we just don't know what the future looks like. That being said, with the huge boom this year, I do see that upside. I get why people are doing it, and I think that if you really enjoy it, putting a little bit of money in there and expecting that type of return where you're making 50-60% return after fees and everything in 4 to 5 years is not unrealistic, as long as you understand the dangers and the fact that if they reprint it, it might not move at all. Now, one thing I do want to say, that I do disagree with, that I hear out in the community, is that Modern actually has a higher ceiling, and that these booster boxes are going to be like really important, right? Like a lot of the hype talking about how Evolving Skies is going to be the best set of all time, or one of the best sets of all time. It's not smart to look at it that way. Just speaking bluntly from a financial perspective, it's very like rose-colored glasses, and it's very in the moment thinking. No one can really predict how these sets are going to be viewed or perceived even a year from now, even 8 months from now, let alone 5, 10, 15 years, when people are telling you these are going to sell for $4,000 a box, or what have you. Okay, so I just want to put it out there that the vintage, the WotC stuff has an established identity that no newer set can ever shift or change. Okay, it's always going to have that mass appeal, and it's going to always be the first appearances and have that identity. The newer sets could easily be lost over time. We might have new sets that have sketch cards, one-of-one cards, all sorts of different collector type chase cards. You might have a lot more shining sets that have even cooler, more interesting, like shining alternative arts. I mean, they're definitely going to do shining alternative arts, right, guys? Like 100%, they're going to combine what's popular. And what does that do to the regular alternative arts that are so hot right now? Like if they do a shining alternative art similar type of art to that Umbreon, that Japanese Umbreon from like Evolving Skies that was selling for like $1,500. Like, what do you think is going to happen to the value of that card or the importance of that card over time? So not only can they reprint these things, but they can release new product or new things that completely change the narrative and story of that card and the importance of that card. And so when you invest in something, you want it to have what's called a moat, which is this, which the without going too into depth, is just this idea that it's going to stand the test of time because it has really strong fundamentals, a really strong brand and narrative that no matter what Pokemon does to it or no matter what happens, it's going to be really strong. Okay? And none of these items have that. And Evolving Skies is a great set. The alternative arts are beautiful, but Pokemon is going to continue to make great sets with great art. So just be careful, invest, speculate responsibly. Are my opinions on all of this. And I hope, as always, that people don't get too offended by my opinions, and also understand that like it's perfectly fine to disagree, and it's also all power to you if you believe in this strongly and out of your own agency, make these types of bets. I myself am not investing in any modern sealed product unless I can get it like legit. We're talking like I try to buy my boxes like 85, 80, 82, maybe 90. I probably would have gone up to like $100, maybe $110 on Evolving Skies. Outside of that, for me personally, I just have so many better options, both in terms of options that I enjoy, because for me, putting a lot of booster boxes in a closet, it's not enjoyable. Like, it is fun, and I do have sealed product, but I prefer to put it in other things and things that I can look at and display. Of course, you can display like one booster box or a few booster boxes, but if you're buying like a pallet or 100, you can't really effectively display all of that. So that's what I would say about all of those things. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that these points made sense to you, and I look forward to talking to you all again in the future. All right, take care.